Carole HART-FLETCHER of Dartmouth, situated high above the cliffs of Little Dartmouth Cove. We're about to see the J80s coming out of the Dartmouth estuary. Today we're going to see the first race of the J80s World Championship. We met the sailors last night who are very excited today to be racing in this event that has the most entrants it's ever had. So there will be 76 J80s at the starting line of the first race. And you can see they're just under sail coming out of the River Dart now. We have sailors from all over the world, New Zealand, America, Hong Kong, Spain, France, Scandinavia, and Dartmouth is very proud to be hosting this event here. And we know how much the sailors are enjoying being in Dartmouth. We interviewed some last night and they absolutely love Dartmouth, love being here to sail. The conditions are almost perfect, I think, today, having spoken to the marketing company. And here they come, a flotilla of J80s coming out of the River Dart. Should be quite a spectacle with 76 J80s, pretty little boats. Very passionate sailors sailing them, some very, very experienced sailors, World Championship standard. And also a few teams that have never raced before, and a few teams that certainly have never raced in World Championship races. So for them, they're very excited. Sat here now for 2 hours. They were due to come out at 10:30 for the first race. It's now 12:30. Because of the wind conditions not being quite right, they've waited for a couple of hours. But the weather conditions are certainly better than they were. We've had 2 days of quite torrential rain and also no wind, so not ideal at all. Today seems much better. This is a lovely picture, seeing the J80s coming out of the estuary. Quite a spectacle. These are very light boats and they take crews of 4. All the boats have been weighed, all the boats have been measured, and there's also a limit on the weight of the team as well. So I know I've spoken to a few teams who've lost a lot of weight in the last 3 months between them. And some team members haven't eaten for a few days. So they're just all floating now, or sailing past the day mark that you can see on the hill. Well, so far it looks like we've got about 50% of the yachts have reached the castle and are coming out. There are another, I think these are about, we've just counted, there are about 35 yachts here. So another 35 or so to go. This is quite a fierce competition. We interviewed sailors last night who are really looking forward to this week. There are 2 or 3 races a day and the finals will be on Friday. Very competitive. Everybody having different tactics, it appears. Some people know that they most definitely will be in the first 5. Some hope to be in the first 20. And others are really just enjoying participating in this world-class event. Particularly the local sailors who haven't had to come far but felt it was too great an occasion to miss. So decided to take part. course, many years ago, and we're talking hundreds of years ago, these waters would have seen ships from all over the world. So we'd have seen Drake in these waters, and we'd have seen the Pilgrim Fathers on their way to Newfoundland. And the Pilgrim Fathers came into Dartmouth to shelter and moored along Bayard's Cove. That would have also been a very spectacular sight. Dartmouth Harbour, of course, has for many years acted as a shelter for people, for ships coming in, seeking refuge from the sea and the weather. These are very rocky shorelines here and can be very dangerous, and parts of the Devon coast are full of shipwrecks. To my right we have Start Point Lighthouse. As the camera slowly turns towards our right, it will settle on Start Point Lighthouse, which sits above a very rocky headland and warns sailors off getting too close. The seas around Start Point can be very dangerous, and just further along from Start Point there are many areas where shipwrecks still lie under the sea. And of course, these waters are famous for wrecking. And looking back at the J80s, now coming up to the start point, it's quite spectacular. This is absolutely a superb spot to see this race. We've got 180 degrees of view. And these J80s are sedately going towards the start point, accompanied by some motorboats, some fishing boats. Quite a few people are sat on the headland watching these J80s come to the start point. So as I understand it, they're not in heats for the start of this, they'll all be starting together. And I think that's one of the things that when we spoke to the sailors last night, they're very excited about, the fact that they'll all be starting together. So there'll be a lot of jostling for position. Okay, the camera is now focusing on two boats which have yellow buoys on them, which seem to be the boats that are creating the start line. There are still J80s actually coming out from the estuary, so a few stragglers heading this way. I have to say, 76 J80s altogether in this expanse of water does look very spectacular. This morning I spotted them when I was on the hire ferry, and the teams were all getting ready, and there was a great sense of excitement amongst the teams. They've been waiting at least 3 hours to come out to sea, so I guess they're very thrilled to eventually have got here now. Some of the teams are past champions. We've got quite a few Spanish teams who have come second and fifth, very experienced. They're really going to go for it, they said. They're really going to go for that moment of glory and be the winners. There's a lot of friendship between the teams, as well as competitiveness, a lot of respect for each other. I think sailing engenders that sort of spirit. So we can see now the J80s assembling at the start point, on the start line. About a quarter of the yachts have their spinnakers up, creating an even more spectacular sight. The weather has changed. The wind seems to have died quite a lot. The air has got very moist and feels like there's rain coming in. But as the J80s gather together, they're all getting closer. Not quite sure when the gun will go, so we'll just keep a watchful eye and see what happens. The spinnakers actually make it quite a spectacular sight on this sort of grey sea that we're looking at now, which was sparkling blue when we arrived this morning.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, on! Line clear, all the way!
So here we are in the bay and the J80s are underway, their first race. We're about 5 hours late with the start due to the weather conditions, the winds not being quite how the race master would have liked it, but they're underway anyway, and we're just waiting to see those spinnakers go up. I think they'll need them, there's not a lot of wind, but much better weather in terms of light and sun, and not raining like it was earlier or previous 2 days. So we're just waiting to see what happens. They'll have been waiting a long time for this moment. They've been very patient, floating around out here in the bay. So they'll be wanting to get going, and they'll be happy to see this race underway. We're going to see a few huddles there and some movement. Of course, we're on top of the cliff, we're not close by, so hard to see the detail. But at last, this race is underway.